Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're connecting from. I'm excited to be on this show today. Thank you so much for joining us. This is another Monday, making a difference to Sandra Uko every day. We are all called out to make a difference in our world. There is something that God has put in each and every one of us. Everyone is important, everyone has a skill, and everyone has a talent in them that God expects us to harness, maximize so that we can, be a better person, that we can be a blessing to others. And today I have a special guest with me, but before I bring him on board to share his story, have known him as a person who has been very constant, very focused on what he's been doing. I have known him for years. And I wonder what has kept him going, his passion for youth, his passion for teenagers, his passion for toddlers, his passion for parents and family, seeing that the family is together. I would love to bring him on board, but before I do that, let me go just straight into the introduction, introduce myself, making a difference every day, like rightly said. We bring people of great minds to share their story of impact, how they all started from zero to hero, what has worked for them, what has kept them going, because life is not promised to be all bed of roses. There's going to be tough times, there's going to be difficult moments. What you do during those tough times make or mar you. So we want to hear from others who have been there, who have gone through those rough paths, so that we can glean from them and become better at what we do. So my name is Sandra Uko. I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member Coach, speaker, and trainer. I'm a podcaster. I'm also a best-selling author. I'm also the Vice President uh, Public Relations in Toastmasters, and IT sales expert of over 20 years. And just recently, I got gifted the Presidential Lifetime Award. I'm excited to bring our guest in. His name is Praise Fowowe. I'm so excited to have him. Yeah, just a moment. Thank you so much. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sandra. Good to see you. How you doing?
Very good. Been so many years.
Yeah, so many years.
I don't think you've changed. I can't see any gray hair.
No, well, I mean, people say that all the time, and they always ask me. But I mean, I always tell people that I've just tried to keep myself stress free, so that you don't just age unnecessarily, and then keep my mind at rest.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I just know that my audience would like to know you. I didn't introduce you. I purposely did that so that when you come on board, you tell us your name, tell us what you've been up to, what you've been doing in your world to make a difference, because I can see a lot you're doing, but my audience would like to hear from you.
Okay, my name is Praise Fowowe. I work as a family life strategist, which means I work across board. Over the years, I have innovated all kinds of solutions that has helped family maintain their wellness, from child sexual abuse prevention materials, from sexuality education, age-appropriate sexuality education, to parenting intervention, to family life intervention, and I mean, set up I mean, I grew up in Nigeria, so organized and pioneered the professional family life, sector in Nigeria. And then I've trained some of the most effective family life professionals in to have come out of Africa, over 2,000 of them, and then set up an institute and has the most complete and comprehensive family life certification program that is being used across different countries at the moment. Presently, I work in America and I work across board, supporting families to achieve their wellness base. So once it has to do with family life, from singleness to getting married to parenting, I create strategies for families. Yeah. So basically, maybe in a nutshell, that's how to introduce myself.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I want to know what has kept you going. I know consistently, I think 20 years ago or more, you were in my
Yeah.
church. You came with your smaller books. I still have some of them, boys
Mhm.
and girls and the rest. And I want to know what has kept you going, because I thought probably maybe you're in IT, you're doing something else, but you've been so consistent. What has kept you going on? What has kept you being in that same field over the
Well,
years?
you see, the society is a product of the family. So when people talk about, oh, we have a dysfunctional society, I always say that you cannot separate a dysfunctional society from a dysfunctional family. As a matter of fact, what we call a dysfunctional society is a combination, of our individual families. And so, if I live family life, then literally what I'm saying is that I've allowed the society to collapse. Because the most important nation on earth is the family, because the family is the production factor of the society. And there's no way you're going to finish the work anyways, but you can only do your part and keep innovating and keep pushing the boundaries. So for me, it's more like a calling. It's more like what I was born to do. And so there is always something new. There's a new generation. Now we have Generation Z and Alpha, which is different from the previous generation.
Yeah,
You
true.
have to reinvent what you do in a way that is applicable to them and help them. While you still help the ones who you've worked with to sustain their family life. And so, coming to the US, for example, I noticed a whole lot of dysfunctionality,
Very
especially even among the black Americans and the African Americans, who are here, and those are my people. And so my work is really, really cut out. People want to go through divorce, then they have to talk to me. They've gone through divorce, and then they need blended family system. They have to talk to me. People do all kinds of things, and then they don't know who to talk to. So they have to reach me. So there's a whole lot to do. And I don't see myself doing any other thing else outside of family life, because that's what I think I'm called to do. So when people talk about the sphere of influence, I think family is my forte, and I just realize that there's a lot more to do in there. So there's no point running around, when there's a whole lot to do in it.
Oh Lord, that's a great word. But before you started being focused, were there times there were no business? Were there times you were not doing well that you thought like, oh my God, I may want to go out of this or do something else just to make, leave a balance, have enough income?
So let me give you a background. Right.
Okay.
I started family life year 2000, right? And so I went to work for one of the top family life professionals way back in Africa. And then I left her in 2003. Now, when I was leaving, it wasn't a good time to leave from, the corporate work kind of point of view, because I'd just been promoted. I'd just been given an official car, and there was a prospect of becoming a major stakeholder. But that was when I left. And I left because I felt that I saw a major challenge. I mean, I was taking a walk and I saw little kids in the teenage years prostituting, and I felt I needed to make a change. Now I have what people call survival skills. So survival skills were natural ability. Not many people know that I play music, and I prepare choirs for concerts, way back,
Wow.
right? And so I knew I had those skills, so I knew I wouldn't be stranded. And then I love to cook, so I knew I could make a whole lot of things. So when I left paid employment, and I went straight into family life, I started by rehabilitating prostitutes and taking them out of prostitution. So to keep my body and soul together, I was creating solutions and offering them to private schools in Nigeria, and they were paying me, to do that. Then I graduated into consulting for banks, where I started training banks. And those days, the pay was very good. In Nigerian currency, it was like 300,000 every day that I showed up in the bank to train their people, right? And so that kind of supported me. But I mean, everything I made from the bank, I poured it back into family life. So I learned to productize early, because I knew that nobody was going to fund me. And because if they were going to fund me, then they would dictate their terms of funding, which would mean that I would have to start teaching what I didn't plan to teach, because he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So I've
Sure.
always had an entrepreneurial mindset around family life and what I do. And that's why you would see me write books, you will see me create courses, you will see me create certification. My superpower is intellectual property. So I told myself, because I remember when I was starting out, they told me it wasn't going to sell in Nigeria. There was no sector. The people who taught family life were pastors. There was Pastor Bimbo, there was Pastor Lumide in there. So people told me this professionalism you wanted to do was not going to work. No university offered family science in Nigeria, and Africa work. So people told me it wasn't going to work, and then so a wise man advised me that if I really, really wanted to make it, I should go set up a church. That if I became a pastor and I set up a church and I grow the church, the people from the church can fund what I wanted to do. And I told them, no, I wasn't going to start a church, because I literally ran away from home because my father wanted me to go to the seminary. My father was an Anglican priest, but I didn't want to do pastoring. So I ran away from home. So here they are telling me to go.
Trying to convince you to do it.
But I said to myself, I said, praise, I'm going to stay in this sector, because it was literally green. I said, I'm going to stay in there for 7 years. And if I don't begin to make a headway in 7 years, I'll go back to paid employment. right? And true to my prediction, the first 5 years, nobody wanted to put any money on me. Nobody wanted to pay me for anything, but I leveraged my coping skills. I prepare music groups for concerts. I will, create courses for secondary schools and private schools, and then I would offer it, and they'll pay me. It was little, but I mean, it kept body and soul together. And then by the time I started training banks, it was easier for me, right? And so I knew there was no looking back. I'd burned the bridges. I don't even understand how to go back and say. So there was no. It was either you succeed or you succeed. There was no room for failure.
Yeah, it's either you succeed or there's nothing, no going
Yeah,
back.
and so that was what I did. And so while I was in Nigeria, I'd started thinking of moving out of Nigeria, because then I felt, let me try my stuff elsewhere. And people started telling me, oh, America is not like Nigeria. UK is not. I mean, you will need to combine 3 jobs. I said, no, if I can't do what I'm doing in Nigeria and America, there was no point coming. Unfortunately for me, or maybe unfortunately, the visa that brought me to America is a visa called O1 visa, which is a special talent visa. It's an exceptionally talented people that US government will give that visa to. And so what they would have to check your track record and every result you have produced in your life, and then give you that visa on the condition that within the next 2 years or 3 years, you have to replicate your results where you're coming from in America, or you are back to where you're coming from. Right.
Wow.
And so my visa did not even offer me the chance. So it was as bad as I couldn't get broke and decide to go and drive Uber. It's not possible based on that visa, right? You have to work in your space, and it's not as if you
Oh
can
my
do it.
God.
You literally have to create a business, make it profitable, and show US government that you can make it profitable. Unfortunately for me, by the time my O1 was approved, COVID started. By the time COVID ended, out of my 3 years, I had 1.5 years left.
Wow.
So I moved to America, and I started working, right? And then nobody knew me. Just started working, took my chance, went online, shared what I could do, and blah blah blah. Did free webinars, and then I started getting gigs, and people wanted me to consult for them and stuff. And so within 1 year, I had replicated my results in America, and then I got my green card, right? And so I always say to people that focus create blindness. And it starts from your heart. If you believe you're going to make it anywhere you go, regardless of who you are, you're going to make it. And so for me, I believe that there is much more in this family life sector that we've not even started scratching. And
True.
I believe that there's so much we can do. And so it's not. Yes, there was never a time I felt, oh, you need to. Things can go bad. Yeah, those are realities, But for me, I always believe that when challenges come, then I will have to confront it. Like they say, new levels, new devil. But then you have to kill the devil for you to succeed. That's the way I live my life.
Awesome. 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 Oh my God. That was like you had no choice but to prove. And
Yes.
I'm sure were there no pressure for you to say, okay, this 1 year, I've lost 1.5 years, I just have 1.5 years left to
There
meet
was
up?
the pressure was there, right? Because I kept looking at American government to say they're not going to renew this thing, right? But then what COVID had done for me was I didn't know COVID was going to start, but then I told my team in Nigeria that I wanted to start consulting globally. So I built a studio, right? And from that studio, I started running classes every 2 a.m. Nigerian time, which was work time in America. And so when I was doing that every day, I did it for 148 days, right? And people started getting to know me. And so I started having clients even from Nigeria who were paying me in dollars, right? And so, I mean, my bouquet was like, my cheapest bouquet was $3,200, which was the bouquet many people were paying for in America and the UK and the rest of them. So that had kind of showed me that, okay, this thing, you can actually do it, right? And so when I came in, and you see the pressure was such that I'd moved my family to Canada. Then I'm coming to the US. So I have to keep a house in Canada. I have to keep a house in US. My house in Nigeria is still there, right?
Oh my
And
God.
so it was a, I mean, when I share the story with people that I have lived a stressless life, right? So if you live in America, you can imagine how much I'm talking about every month that I have to come up with, but God has been faithful, in the sense that I always knew what to do at a time. I always knew what product people needed. I always knew, what I needed to do and what people were willing to pay for. And one of the things that has been my hallmark in life is that whether I'm doing the job for free or you are paying me for it, I will not give less than my best on any job. So I always say that whatever comes out of me must pass the test of worship unto God. If God would not accept my competence as a service, I will never offer it to the customer. And
Oh my
so what
God.
it means is everything I offered was the best that existed. When people go through me or they go through my sessions, they said to me that someone said it last week that, oh, I went for this certification and I paid so much, right? But then I was telling my husband that what you gave us for cheaper was way superior. I hear that all the time and it gives me a lot of joy, right? And so I always believe that your job is to serve the best to the market, right? And then the market will pay you if they know that they will get the best from you. So
Yeah,
basically,
this is beautiful. This is so great. Knowing that even when people don't even pay you or offer you anything in return, you
yeah,
give your best like you're giving to someone who's paying you.
yes,
Such that the person have an experience that's like a brand and the person
mhm,
goes out there to
mhm,
announce you to the world. And that's
yes,
the cheapest and the most effective means of communication.
yes,
Mouth to mouth referral, where you're not even the one talking. People
yeah,
are giving testimonial on a free note.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. I think I need to come and learn from you. It's awesome, sincerely, because I've been in the coaching gig in the last 2 3 years, and I was thinking this is not meant for people like me, but I've been doing it consistently, and I just said, God, you just have to help me to
Mhm.
break through. So hearing your story since is mind blowing, really mind blowing, very mind blowing. Not allowing anything to keep you. And have you? Why do you have a house in Nigeria? Have in Canada? Do you have people you that were living with you in Nigeria that you have to keep their house? Keep
Yeah,
those
I have people living with me. I have people who are living with me in Nigeria, so I have
people you are like mentoring or adoptees?
well, like people, I have adopted people who are lived in the
Oh,
house, so there was no way to pull the plug over their head.
oh my God.
So we had to keep that in going. And my family is in Canada because my wife was in school at the time. She's done with school now, but they're moving. We're all going to move back together to the US and sometimes later in the year. But then I think it was a period to really stretch me and let me know what I'm capable of doing, because I always tell people that, you see, if you're not careful, the nation you were born into can actually shrink you and make you feel very small. But
Yeah,
then
very
when you put your metal elsewhere, then you know that, hey, you can. And for me, it's about mentality. And that's what I always tell our people, that when you're coming in, right, you have to ensure that your mentality is right. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm not someone who will look down on anybody who is, doing any little job. I believe in dignity of labor. But
yes.
then you can start from there, but don't end there. Don't keep your life there and think that's where your life stops. But for me, if I'm not going to do what I'm doing in Nigeria, in any country I go to, there's no point coming. That's my mentality, and that's what has worked for me. So I will ensure that I benchmark the best of the best, that exists in that country. I mean, America right now, the thoughts on my head is that I'm going to be number one family lifestyle is in America. That's what I'm working for. So I'm not, and I'm not second guessing it. And I'm not even, when I say it, people look at me
You
and
mean it is all
they say you are crazy, but then you have to be abnormal for you to get things done. So
very
every
true.
time I see what people earn, and I see the Tony Robbins, I see the Ryan Golding, and someone is saying, "Oh, I earn $50,000 per hour." I'm saying, "Why not me? Why can't I do that?" Right? And so, and I look at their content, and it's not as if the content is so more better, but it's about time and season, as about platforms and stuff. But
Yeah.
much more is about what you believe in, about yourself and things like that. And those were the things I have. There are laws I have learned over time that I believe works. Right. And so when there's alignment between your words, your thoughts, and your action, I believe life opens up for you. I've tried it over and over again, and I know that these things work. Right. But wherever you have quality, people gravitate in that direction. But then you have to believe that it can be done.
Awesome, awesome. That is a great one. Very great, mind blowing. That is mind blowing. Awesome, sir. Meaning that whatever you give your best at every time,
Yes.
and you know what you want. Speak to yourself, and you know what where you're going to. You know you give quality. That's why I tell people, I say, you must mind what you're doing now because people are watching you. It's like you're working in a room, in a camera room. You never know who is watching you.
Yeah.
And and what speaks for you is integrity. Because it is said that integrity is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
True.
So what are you doing even when people are not watching you? Like I tell myself, when I first moved in here, there's a lot of things compromised. People will tell you, do this, do that. I said, when you know whom you are and who you are, then you're careful of the life and the things you do.
Yeah.
I said, because I know myself, I'm going to be in the White House and I'm careful of what I do. So it got to a time, families, people came to meet me and said, why don't you do this? I said, no, I'm not. I'd rather go back to my country. I'd rather go back to Nigeria. I wasn't chased away from there. I didn't commit a crime. So what I can do, set up my kids here, doing well, then go back home.
Yeah.
It's not a do or die because this is not a certificate to take me to heaven.
Yeah.
So why would I compromise? Because a lot of us come here and we just chicken out and we just stay put with the first job we meet and we just continue rather than improving ourselves and getting better and going where we want to go. We lose track of our plans and our goals and we just, accept things the way they are. Then when you know yourself, and I beg to say that a lot of people don't know themselves. That's why they accept what they see. Because self-awareness is like knowing yourself, knowing what you're called out for, knowing what God has designed you for, and being in that circle to affect your world. Not just moving with, just the wind, wherever the wind blows you to, or whatever people are doing at this particular time. Because I heard people say nursing was the in thing. When I came in, the first thing I said, go and do nursing. I said, why nursing? I'm not interested in nursing. I'm not called for nursing. I don't want to do anything nursing. You understand? And as God will have it, over time, things begin to unravel and things begin to work out the way I want. And sometimes it is said that challenges brings out the best in you.
Yeah.
When you don't go through tough times, you don't understand what is out there.
Absolutely.
If someone had told me 5-10 years ago that I'm going to be an author, I'm going to go into speaking, and sometimes I'm very shy, I'll tell you not me. But though I've done sales, IT sales for 20 years of my life, I was going from office to office. You know why the kind of sales we do in Nigeria? Your shoe will be like this.
Yeah.
Your skirts will open because you are taking bikes to meet up with because of traffic. Those are the times I started marketing. And every weekend I'm like crying. I want to stop the job. But that's the only job I have. That's the only job I have. And I needed to survive because I was out of college. I don't want to go back home to ask my parents for money. I know how they're struggling. And I just have to make it work. And I thought I would be in sales for 2 years. But I found myself being in sales for like 20 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, over time, I couldn't do any other job but sales. So, because I love being on the field, I love meeting with people. I love, once I know what I'm selling, once I know the value, then I can sell it. But once I don't know what I'm selling, then I'll make a fool of myself. So, and that was what helped me to stay in sales because it got to a time my boss, I had to watch him over time, get to learn how he presents. So when I go out to present in the banks, they'll tell me you're presenting like your boss. Because over time, I kept on, watching him, recording his voices, go back home, play the video over and over again. I became like, when you see my boss speaking, it's like, when you see Sandra speaking like Yele. So over time, I tell people, I say, there's really nothing the human mind cannot embrace.
Yeah.
Once we open ourselves up to learning. So a lot of times I tell people, when you get to an environment, keep quiet. You might know everything in the world. Listen to what people have to say. Pick people's brain before you speak. When you speak the last, people tend to like, oh, wow. So he's so knowledgeable. He's so brilliant. But when you start speaking, because sometimes we want to show ourselves off. Oh, I'm good. I'm a doctor, So I have learned that over time. And, meeting you and hearing what you just said now, that you want to be one of the best, I believe that's so also with you because you become what you say.
Yeah.
And when you begin to see it, your mind eyes on the inside, it becomes the same thing on the outside. So I tell people, I said, even myself, my husband said, I really just gradually started accepting what I was saying. Because what you say and what you do must marry to what you do say.
Yeah.
That's actions and what you say. Once those two can match, people can trust you. People can say, oh, he's consistent.
Yeah.
He walks his talk. And you understand? So that's been mind blowing, sir. I appreciate those feedbacks. I think I'll come behind the back door if you won't mind.
No problem. Anytime you're ready, just let us know. Yeah.
Okay, it's been a mind blowing session for me. Being consistent and doing what you do over the years, I would use you. I'll make reference to you oftentimes. I have no one man who has been consistent. How long have you been doing this, sir?
24 years.
Huh?
24 years.
Oh my God, that's long.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. I want to thank our audience and also I want to thank our audience who have been on this show. Thank you so much for being on this show with us. And if this is your first time, please kindly like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that when we are online anytime, you can get updates from us. And I also want you to share with others. It is said that a leader is one who knows it and shares it with others. So what we've learned from Pastor Fowowe, or is it Brother Fowowe or Mr. Fowowe?
Praise Fowowe.
Praise Fowowe. Okay, thank you so much. Let's go out there to share because it's been a blessing, being consistent and the last 24 years doing the same thing and, breaking the boundaries. And I can't wait to hear your testimony that you're number one globally. I'm here to support you. I'm here to praise you. I'm here to share your story. You've been a blessing to me, a blessing to my family. I still have your books with me over 15 years. When we were leaving Nigeria, those are one of the books we took along. It's been a blessing meeting with you again, sir.
Thank you
so much.
God bless you. And thanks for all you do as well.
Thank you, sir. If you've made it this far into this video, thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe so you can support your girl. Thank you.